I made a video last night touching on this, but I was reading up on some things, and it was one of those moments in my life where I'm like, well, it wasn't really that good. I'll get rid of it, open up some space on my phone, maybe think a bit more about it, and then I read a story first thing in the morning as I'm drinking my 3 shots and my caramel and a little bit of cream in there. I love it. I've gone back to something more simple from a simpler time when I was a younger man. Just some shots, just some caramel, just some half and half. That's really what I want. So, in the Northwest, and there's an issue. People have also seen this in Minnesota. There's this region of the country toward the western north corner of the 48 contiguous states that has a very large number of Scandinavian people. And Edward Dutton was discussing the intelligence of the Scandinavians, because there's probably all these people who are like, this is the weird part about what you've said about these various groups. Because why do the Scandinavians do that? They don't have quite the history that most of us can associate with, like the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant Yankees of the Northeast, where one could imagine with their long history with the Scots-Irish Appalachians. And I want to once again reiterate, that is a complete Americanism. Scots-Irish is an Americanism. And it's a very complicated Americanism, as you Scottish and Irish people have been making me slowly understand about who these people were in relationship to the Scottish and the Irish, which kind of makes me wonder if this is where no true Scotsman comes from, is these people known as the Scots-Irish. And so it's just look up a thing of origin of the Scots-Irish, and this is a section of stuff that it'll make kind of sense. You'll be like, wait, I kind of think I've heard about this. But in school we had to study a bit of history, and we kind of learned something about, was it James of Orange or whatever. I would still have to look it up again. I'd have to look it up again. But, who took over what, then who got rebuffed and had to go back home, but they weren't really from there anymore, and like that kind of thing. So. With this experience people have had where they're like, why are the Scandinavians like that? Why do they vote liberal so often? These people were Vikings once. Like, what's the deal? And finally, it was Dutton really who made me see this. He was recently discussing both the Scandinavians and the Jews being so intelligent. And what happened was, I was like, wait a second. There we go. They are one of the various groups that thinks they could placate all the different cultural groups. And then he nailed it. When you're smart, you perceive other people aren't. You have an honest perception and summary of others that they are or they are not smart. So then, think about when you're dealing with a dumb, thuggish person. And what do you do with like a big male dum-dum? You talk to him real slow, because you don't know what's going to make the guy chimp out. You don't know what's going to make a stupid person chimp out. So So imagine this, that you are people who are really smart. You are around groups you are totally unfamiliar with. And some of these groups chimp out bad. Then some of these groups, they even look like people who are similar to you, and in fact might actually have ancient lineages going back to a similar region of the world. And they will chimp out on your ass and do things you don't expect, or they're stupid and kind of lazy and shiftless and don't do things. So this is something that the Northwest is going to have to deal with. You have these Scandinavians that for only so much longer are going to keep breeding high intelligence. Your school systems don't reflect that you have this incredibly highly intelligent population. School systems are 30th in Oregon, they're 30th in the nation. This has to follow elsewhere in this region I'm talking about. It has to follow. And the reason why is because you're not seeing microchip manufacture. You're not seeing, you're simply not seeing genius, like mass genius fields in the Northwest. That's the thing. You're not seeing how the only thing they've got now are, and really, the nonprofits and nonprofit kind of businesses for smart people, such as universities and various nonprofit political causes and things like that. That's what's going on here. To some degree, the medical field, but again, this is since Obamacare. The issue with the medical field is that you can't really be that people are proscribed. No, that's not. They're almost conscripted to the way that their medical system works now, because they are getting less and less and less choice, really, by the field kind of falling apart as far as choice, and as far as options go. And that's why we were running into the problems we were running into with COVID. This is why the Republicans have to literally start their entire thing on a mass deregulation campaign, like just of almost across the field, eliminating federal bureaus left and right and letting the chips fall where they may. Strengthening inspectors general while weakening almost all regulatory organizations and their departments, and like leaving nothing but things like inspectors general, so crime can be investigated, but as far as the regulatory processes, they have to die. I mean, we've left this in the hands of people who are totally incapable of making anyone money. And that's a huge part of it. They can't make anyone a fucking dime. And so that means they would starve their own families if they were ever had to depend upon making it on their own. So they work for these regulatory agencies and nonprofits and big highfalutin ideas, rather than actually trying to figure out a way of improving the process of generating energy. So something and so you get these people, or these agitated do-gooders throughout these liberal enclaves, but they don't produce anything. They're more than willing to criticize all the farmers, but they won't farm themselves. More than willing to criticize the people who make the energy, but won't make energy themselves. Want to make all these complaints about, about rights, this, that, and the other, but they won't protect rights by actually keeping crime down. So they're obviously failing to maintain the high intelligence. But then there's this, and I've actually really tried to. This one, being yellow. Have you started to really? I mean, just think about. There's a lot of smart populations, but they're just yellow. They're just cowardly. I mean, like that's really a big part of modern society's problem right now, is just yellow-bellied cowards. So you could have these really smart British people, but it's like, what does it matter if they're fucking cowards and they just let anything be done to any of them by any Saracen or fucking nut job who comes into their country? And it's happening here too. That, I mean, you just get all these yellow-bellied cowards. And the worst part about it is people that they're talking about toxic masculinity. It's like, what would you even know about the M in it, the Y in it, the masculinity in it? I mean, holy crap, you scrawny bastards, you yellow-bellied fucking tarts, and with this idea like, oh, but they're showing everybody how smart they are by being smart. They're just smart people, and they're so goddamn smart. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Bullets make everyone equal. Most crime is not with a gun. You're going to be made equal by those savages fucking taking your things. And it will be this thing of, oh, well, we have to be fair. We have to be fair. We have to let them have some of our things. This thing of like what smart people do where they just stand there awkwardly and they're like, oh yeah, just let the crazy person do what they want and maybe they'll move on. And now it's that thing where, once again, kind of the real white people have to like let it be understood, like, no, you're going to have to whoop that ass. Get up and whoop his ass. And that's, there's a part of me that I'm like, there's this that moment where you're kind of sitting there kind of anthropomorphizing, a societal issue. But that is what it is. A lot of white men need to get up off their ass and whoop ass. Make people fucking understand. Fuck you. Shut the fuck up. Fuck you. They need to whoop ass. They need to make people understand their fucking place in the order of things. I just think about this all the time now. That there's just these moments where I'm just like, isn't there a big white dude to just stand up and slap the shit out of this person and tell them, mind your fucking manners, get in fucking line, you piece of shit. Like, oh, do you got a problem with that? Boom, right off their feet. Now you got an option. One more of those or deal with it. Deal with that life is hard. You're welcome for the bridges and for the dams and for the infrastructure that none of these other groups can maintain because they don't make up any more than about 4 out of 10 Americans. Ethnic minorities make up about 4 out of every 10 Americans. All of us. Every form. The reason why this is so damned important is because that means that therefore 2 out of every 10 Americans is an ethnic minority male. It doesn't mean they're an adult. It doesn't mean that they're an adult that is going to get into the trades and help rebuild the infrastructure, which is the kind of kookball thinking that goes on with liberals. Oh, well, these people will naturally do this. No. Why do you think El Salvadorian immigrants are going to naturally rebuild Hoover Dam at some point? Like, what the fuck are people thinking? Where is those skills supposed to come from? Who's teaching them to do this? Like, why would we expect immigrants from Africa and the Middle East to be able to help with water infrastructure? Who's supposed to train them in these skills? These are skills that are built up over generations. And that's why you end up having like contractors, and because these are actually like teams of people that have. This isn't one person coding. These are teams of people that have methods to how things are done, and these methods are like real serious, like many steps to properly placing block, to properly laying concrete. All of these things have methods, and those methods require expertise and experience. And this idea that you're going to just have a bunch of guys, like your standard bunch of roofers, playing like fucking ranchero music, and they're going to be rebuilding the electrical infrastructure. I know that no is going to happen, senor. And these kind of cooped out, paranoid, smart people of the Northwest, that's the thing, is that you can be smart. It doesn't mean that you really have knowledge of a field. You don't have the wisdom that comes with experience, and that's why it's like I can know. Well, what would limit my grand schemes? That's one of the first things you're supposed to go through. What would limit my grand vision? And that's where you start. Like, is this an inevitability? Like, is this limitation on my grand vision something that you can't get away from? This is almost never taken up. It really is this thing of like, oh no, we could do anything if we really set our mind to it. That's not really true. That's not true of humanity. Like, there are physical limitations and technological limitations and labor limitations. And so this idea, like, no, as long as we set our mind to it, anything is possible. It's like, no, that's not true. You can't just do anything because you set your mind to it. It's not the real world. Not really. That's not the real world. So, this is showing to me. And, no matter how smart that population, it's starting to fade. Because there's like a lot of the other measures of intelligence, like really kind of being nice to other people, having a relatively orderly behavior and stability of mind. But these things are starting to fade with this group as they're becoming kind of loonier and loonier, as everybody saw with the protests in the Northwest. They're becoming lunatics. So it's that you're starting to see some of the smart population actually get to that smart, crazy part of it. They're not mathing very well anymore, and they have a hard time kind of not going schizo, which is one of these things that you see a lot up here. You see a lot of people go schizo. Yeah, a lot of self-medication, a lot of schizophrenia. So this was, so I was just thinking about this. Today, it's Tuesday, the 17th, and there's some really good articles in Zero Hedge that I highly recommend, that are really good, brief articles, brief reads, that really break a lot of stuff down. And about time to have some herbal tea, start getting ready for my evening shift. I'll talk to you guys later.